Hey YouTube, Kiratwig here, bringing you guys my Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck collection 2. A while back, I think almost a year, if not a year ago, I showed you guys my entire Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck collection. The collection has changed quite a bit since the last video, so I thought I'd show you guys what my entire deck collection consists of now. I would say it's almost about the same amount of decks as the last video. A couple decks are the same, a couple new ones, but yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and grab from all the decks I have here, give you guys a quick little brief summary of the deck. So let's go ahead. I think we'll start off with the most recent deck profile I did, which are Fluffles. This deck always interests me since new challengers came out. I love the whole concept of cute to frightening, and the deck has really kicked off, which has made me really enjoy sticking with it this whole time. Not sure if it's going to get any more support, but if it does, I'll definitely look forward to that. Up next, we have InfiNoise. I play at a really, meta-based locals, and I haven't really played this deck at all myself. This is the one deck that I loan out to friends when my friends want to play in the tournament and they don't have any decks themselves. This is the one that gets loaned out the most to me, which is probably one of the main reasons why I built that deck, just so I can have other people, use my deck for tournaments. It's pretty much a simple deck. I don't really have to, tell people how to play it that much because they pretty much get the gist there. Next up, we have Ignites. A very simple deck, pretty much, just destroying monsters and whatnot. Built this deck just because, all the stuff came to me. Got all the cards for the deck, so I thought, why not put it together? It's an interesting deck with a one-track mine. I, enjoy playing it every so often. Probably the third deck I play the most now at locals. We'll get to the other ones later on down the road. But next in the pile, we have Madolches. This is actually a funny story, Madolches. I just recently finished putting this deck back together. It is the now Rock Candy version of the deck where you play Gem Knights as well. But I originally traded this off to someone and then ended up getting the same deck back from the person after it changed, a few owners in the time. But after I got it back, after retracking my steps with the owners, I realized that this was my original Madolches. So glad that I have my original deck to begin with. Moving along, we have the once dead, but I still kept the deck up to the meta just because I used it so much, are Clifforts. Now with one scout, no towers in the version that I play. I pretty much maxed out as many pendulum monsters as I can and made it towers turbo, but without the towers. I ran Skybase now. It's more just a little fun gag deck that I made. I know the deck isn't that powerful anymore, but the deck got me a lot of wins. Got me on the top 500 Kasi list, so I owe the deck that much to keep it going. All right, up next we have YangZing's. This was another deck that I just wanted to build right from when not Return of the Duelists, but had packs it has Duelist in its name. Not Duelist Revolution, but I've wanted to build it since that pack came out. And Duelist Alliance, there we go. It always interests me, the new worm type. I always like synchros, probably one of my favorite types of summoning. So YangZings were like, second nature to me when I built it. The deck has a lot of potential too, which I enjoy. All right, up next we have my Red Dragon Archfiend deck, which I showed you guys probably a couple months ago in a deck profile. Hasn't changed much or at all. I've been liking the play style. I think I still have the same extra deck cards behind it as well. Those Red Dragons don't really go into any other decks besides this one, but it's fun, just to get the Red Dragon Archfiend plays off, definitely. So I like to keep that deck around for fun sakes. Most of the fun decks I have don't usually leave my side. For example, my Performapal deck, pretty much the same since the last deck profile that I showed you guys. This deck's probably going to change for sure with the new pack coming out and, the Master of the Pendulum deck coming out. Skullcrobat Joker is an amazing Performapal monster. It's going to be used in a lot more things besides Performapals, but definitely going to see a place in this pure Performapal deck as well. Alrighty, gonna grab another deck. This is the number one used deck of mine at the moment at locals. It is Perform Mages. Like I said, I go to a very meta-based locals, and there are some days where I do like to play fun, try some fun things, but other days you're going to get, some heavy meta plays where you got to go full out with the deck. So this is something I constructed, and, I had to learn the deck, but I'm, learning to also play with the deck. It's, a very interesting deck with lots of different moves. You got to learn the plays, but pretty, easy to get the hang of after that. I'm getting out a double deck box now. For the next one is Fire Fists. Probably one of the longest decks I've ever had. I was in love with the 3-axis build. It's still kind of like that, just probably you'd call it 3.4 axis. One card missing. I think I took out Yugioh. It's over there on my desk. Just forgot to put it back. But yeah, this deck's always been fun to me. I hated when Spirit went to 1 and, I couldn't play it to its max potential. I think I had 1 week of playing this deck. And then it got hit, so that really bummed me out there. Alright, up next from the same deck box we have Gish Keys. One other deck. This one actually won me Yu-Gi-Oh! Day once at my locals. I got the Ojama playmat by playing this. Played Spellbooks in the top. So this is another deck that I can't bear to ever part with. The fact that it won me Yu-Gi-Oh! Day tournament. Gish Keys nonetheless, the Zeal Gigas version. It's just one of those decks that it got me somewhere in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Career, and I can't bear to part with it. And whenever I use the Ojama mat, I swore to myself that I would never use anything else besides the Gish Keys on that mat. Moving on, we have another deck that I lend out at locals, Sotelo Nights. This is another deck just like InfiNoise that I built just because, I had all the stuff for it, so I thought, why not? Plenty of friends at locals, that prefer to just, let me borrow their decks in exchange for, me filming their prize pack openings and whatnot if they top locals with the decks. So it's a fair trade in my agreement. I get a video, they get to play the deck deck gets tested. Fair trade in my opinion. Moving on, we have Super Heavies. This deck is going to get Pendulum Monsters, which I'm really excited for in the next pack, so I'll put to use those in this, so look forward to that deck profile. I enjoy the play of this deck. All monster base. Monster Mash is very fun in my opinion. A very trolly deck also. And another deck in the same deck box is Evil Swarms. This deck is another old one along with Fire Fist. I built this when the DT came out, so I had a fully DT'd version. My locals even allowed us to play this deck, even though, the DT cards weren't legal. So I was one of the only Evil Swarm players at the time that got to use that deck. It was pretty fun, pretty crazy. Ophion, stopped a lot of decks. So it was a fun time for me. I know a lot of these decks that I have remained the same from the last video, but I also have a lot of new ones too. And, I bring up some new stories along with the decks. Like, for example, my Laval deck, just another deck that, I can't get rid of. This was a deck I played a lot at locals until Rekindling went to 1. Added Soul Charge in for the Rekindling, kept a lot of things the same. Still the Quasar version, get out Quasar as fast as you can. Just not as fast as it was when 3 Rekindling were out. And moving on to still my favorite, or one of my favorite decks, Naturia's. This deck, probably, when I first started going to locals, this was my main deck that I always played. People always hated Bamboo Shoot, especially when I would get it out, Torrential, and they wouldn't be able to activate Torrential, because, the effect takes effect as soon as it hits the field. So always keep this deck close as well. This deck, Gish Keys, Lavals, and Clifforts are definitely the 4 that, I would never get rid of from my entire deck collection. So moving on, we have Raid Raptors. This deck I have reversed because of the recent deck profile, but it's going to get support too very soon, which I'm excited for from the new Wing pack. We'll get 4 Strix, which will be awesome, a definite addition to the deck. And moving on, we have, I think this is Morphtronics. Yep, this is Morphtronics. Just another Quasar version. A lot of plays you can get off with Selfon and Smartphon, which is the main reason I built this deck. When we got Smartphon and Secrets of Eternity, it was a great addition to the deck. Can't go wrong with those plays there. I always have fun when I play this deck, even if it's just for fun. It's a deck that can really push hard, but, in the end, it is just a fun deck. All right, next we've got Gem Knights. This is one deck that I always knew would be fun. I know a lot of people are abusing Brilliant Fusion in other ways, but I like using it in this deck to its max potential with, Lady Brilliant Diamond. It's a very fun deck. Lots of different fusions. I know I ran this a couple times at locals too. Was even able to make Big Eye, and that was like, the big card at the time when I played this deck. So I got that out on a lot of opponents that, ended up winning me the game with that card. We're winding down here. Next we have Melodious. This is another deck that I think is getting support. I saw a new fusion, so definitely looking forward to that. So I'll have to look forward to upgrading this deck as well. Built this deck just because, you know, a lot of people asked for this deck profile as well when I was making other ones. So they thought, you know, Melodious I thought would be a good idea. And I ended up enjoying the deck. A lot of fusion plays. Bloom Diva is a great card. Can't go wrong with it. Winding down. We have Dee Dee's. One of my most recent deck profiles is this deck. It's a really fun deck. Can't wait till we get these synchros and the fusions still needed for the deck, and then we can really see it go out at its max potential. We got a good amount of support now. I always wanted to build this. I'm glad we got half the support, and we're almost there to the end for the rest of it. All right, we've got 2 decks left. Decks that haven't really seen much play, but my Dustins are, you know, still always on me. You know, always ready to use these whenever I get the chance. It's been with me for a while now, and you know I haven't had Dustins for a while, but I'm glad they stuck with it. And the last deck is my rank 4 Wot Family deck, another deck that's been with me for a while. I think was in the last video as well. But I enjoyed playing this when Shockmaster was also at its prime. I got Shockmaster out a lot of times with this deck, and it won me a lot of games being able to lock down my opponent. But yeah, that's it for this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like the last deck collection video, don't forget to comment down below what decks you have, what are your favorite decks, and what decks you're making. I hope you guys enjoyed the sequel to my original deck collection video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and Kiratwig2 out.